It was so horrible and kind of disgusting that could even happen.
Yeah.
But all the girls the survivors who are so strong, they just started a huge movement. And it is so unfortunate that it had happened. But I think they had brought so much awareness to the sport, and not even just our sport, to other sports. And I think that's important, that it had brought awareness to other sports or businesses or even just the topic in general. It just maybe wasn't a big topic, but now it's more well known that people can talk about it. Little kids can maybe be aware that it's wrong. So it is unfortunate that it happened, but I know the survivors, a lot of them have been so positive and very inspiring, and I think that message that they're sending is so amazing.
Welcome to Persister with Candace Lowry. I am Candace Lowry. What is a persister? A persister is a little play on words of nevertheless she persisted, but also a woman who has truly broken through that glass ceiling and has really forged a path and a name for herself in whatever business she's in. Persister with Candace Lowry is a CastBox original produced alongside Studio 71. CastBox is the fastest growing, highest rated podcast app on both iOS and Android, where you can find all of your favorite podcasts. You can listen to Persister with Candace Lowry wherever you get your podcasts, but I hope you'll give CastBox a shot because I think it's the best. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Persister with Candace Lowry. I hate saying my last name, but I'm Candace, and today I have Peng Peng Lee with me.
Yay! I'm so excited to be here.
Yay! I'm so excited for you to be here. I want to know everything about gymnastics.
Of course I can.
Cannot touch my toes. So
you can't.
I learned at a very young age I was not made for dancing or gymnastics, and I tried to do it, and my mom slowly pulled me out, and I went into soccer and sports that don't require a lot of flexibility.
Hey, I mean, you made it. You have a podcast now.
Yeah. And she was like, well, we just knew it wasn't right. So I'm always excited to talk to someone who can actually do cool stuff like that.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and you've been starting to dip your toe in podcast-ism. I don't know if that's a word.
Yes, I have.
Hopefully having something down the line.
Yeah, we've been working really hard on coming up with concepts and just stuff for our podcast. I'm excited to be here to listen to your podcast so I can learn as I'm guesting, I guess.
Yeah.
But it will be coming out hopefully in the year 2019, so make sure you keep watch of that and follow me on Instagram at Peng Peng Lee. I'm going to give myself a shout out there.
Yeah, please.
So that you can know when the podcast comes out.
Well, okay, so I have usually just a little fun icebreakery question that's relevant. Well, I hope that have you ever seen the movie Stick It?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually went to the premiere, not the red carpet premiere,
Really?
but in Toronto, my parents had tickets, and so all my little gymnast friends and we all went to the movie premiere to watch it, and it was so cheesy but great because when you're younger, everything was just awesome back then.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun to watch, and they had little celebrity bits here and there, so it was really cool to watch.
Yeah, okay, so that was one of my favorite movies growing up.
Oh, really?
Yes. I'm telling you, I am a person who dreams of being a gymnast, and I know I can never be one. But my question was it realistic at all as to what it's like?
It's funny because I wouldn't say it is realistic in a way. I think the coach was kind of realistic, being hard and stuff on the athletes, but no one would ever think to rebel against the judges, and no one would really think to rebel against the coaches. We do it in a sly way, but not so much in a big competitive setting. Yeah. I would love to see somebody actually do it, but no one, I don't think anyone would have the guts to do it, so I think that's why Stick It was so great, because it's our fantasy as a gymnast, take our bra out and just be like, I'm not going to do my vault today. I'm just going to walk away from the competition because I'm not feeling it. But if that happened in reality, I think our coach would be so mad and you would just not get any high scores ever again. So,
yeah, I've always wondered that. And then with the training, it just seems so intensive.
It's pretty intense
with what you guys are doing. And so because usually it seems like gymnasts or Olympian gymnasts like yourself, really get into it at a pretty young age.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point were you like, I can actually make this like a career and I really need to do this full time?
Well, it's funny because I started when I was younger, when I was 4 years old, and I had a ton of energy. So my mom was like, you are the Energizer Bunny. I can't deal with you. I need to put you in something that's going to exhaust all your energy. So she put me in gymnastics, which was probably the wrong direction, because then I came home and I had even more energy and I was flipping on the couches and the little door frames. I was climbing up it.
Yeah.
So she had no control over me and my energy. So that's kind of how she put me into gymnastics. I actually quit when I was 7 because being the Asian that I am, I was really obsessed with Pokemon.
Oh my God.
So I thought.
So was I, though.
You were too. Who wasn't obsessed with Pokemon?
I had like I had a giant Meowth pillow.
No way. I have so many Pokemon like pet things on my bed at home in Canada. Oh, it's awesome. But I was obsessed with the show, and this was before PVR came out, so you couldn't record anything. So apparently my mom says, I cried on the way to practice because I was missing my Pokemon show every single day. So she's like, I got to pull you out. You're not going anymore because obviously you don't like it. Other things are more important to you. So then I ended up taking a year break from gymnastics, and I did a bunch of other sports. So I ended up doing like karate, hockey, for a day. And then I always did tennis and golf. So that was kind of the other sports that I did growing up. But when I moved into like the bigger city of Toronto area, so I lived in a smaller city, but I moved into Toronto, and then she said, oh, do you want to try gymnastics again? And I said, only if it's for fun. And if I really like it, then maybe I'll stick with it.
Yeah.
But when I was 8 years old, I got back into it, and that's when you start competing. So I absolutely fell in love with the sport, and I was flipping and learning a bunch of new tricks, and that's when I knew like I wanted to do gymnastics, come into practice, and learn a bunch of new things in that area. But when I was 10 years old, I moved into an elite gymnastics program. And so the gymnastics club that I was a part of, they said, we can't really teach you any further than you already know.
Oh, whoa.
Because I joined a really small recreational gym.
Yeah.
Because I told my mom, I said, I just want it to be for fun. So it was very small. Not a lot of people were doing big tricks. There was like a pole in the middle of the floor. So it was you can kind of envision what I'm talking about. It wasn't the biggest elite gymnastics.
Right.
It's very provincial. Provincial, so state. My bad, I keep thinking of like Canadian terms. So it was very provincial. So then I went to a new gymnastics club, and they were elite athletes only. And so when I was around 10 years old, that's when people were telling me, they said, you could be really good if you had different training. And so there was a coach who came up to me and asked, like, he wanted to take me on because I guess he saw potential. But I wasn't that good when I was younger. I was barely making the podium, but I guess I had will in there. They saw something.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, at what point is there a window where coaches see kids and they're like, okay, this is somebody that can be molded, I guess?
I think they see there's sometimes natural talents that kids have, and it's just in the way that they move. So I guess if you put a dancer out there and you see a little kid dancing, you're like, oh yeah, he's got something special about him, just very different than what I guess they've seen before. Or they see they have really good maybe spring, like their vertical's really high, or they have good I don't know, just like aerodynamics, but their skill technique isn't there, so that's where they come into play. So I guess they saw something in me, because when I watch my old routines, I'm like, ooh, my foot is flexed, like everything was just bad.
So when you go into this elite program, do you have to, because I know sometimes with a lot of dancers, they almost have to be homeschooled because they're going to so many competitions. Did you have to get to that point of where this was really a priority for you?
Yeah, so when I was 10, when I was really young, I was practicing from, I think, 4 to 8:30 p.m. So right after school, I would go to practice. And my parents and I, too, I was getting exhausted, and I said, I can't come home, do my homework. Yeah. I'm missing, like, family dinner, and I'm only 10. Like, that's not right.
Yeah.
So we found this elite program that was from 7 to 10:30. You trained in the morning. Then you went from school to 10:30 to 4, and then you had evening practice from 4 to 6. So, like, a full-time job. But it was perfect because my dad was saying, oh, we could drop you off when I go to work, and then I can come pick you up after.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like the perfect schedule, and we had weekends off. That was like the best thing ever, that we had our weekends to ourselves. So I ended up joining that program, and from grade 3 to grade 8 was kind of all girls, because it was specifically gymnastics and figure skating.
Okay.
So I was part of an art school, but gymnastics and the figure skating girls were, that was part of our art. So that was like our art class. So I never really took art class.
that was your art school?
That was like my art credit. But then in high school, I went to a regular high school.
Okay.
So that program was really, it was really good because they wanted you to grow as like a person, not so much just be an athlete. Canada's not as intense, I would say, for athletics.
Yeah.
I think hockey's just kind of a given. It's like our sport. So gymnastics isn't that big, but it was a good program because it was very structured. So I wasn't homeschooled, and I'm really happy that I wasn't homeschooled because when I went from the all girls kind of thing to the high school, I loved high school. Like I loved being kind of in there with people who
normal people.
Well, yeah, just people who had different interests other than gymnastics. So we had a sports program, and the sports program did their, I guess, sport as their art class, and then we had regular kids and like who were interested in like science, math, and like all these very cerebral people.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to be in just a regular high school and get that experience, because I've talked to a lot of girls who are homeschooled, and I feel like they just missed out on a lot of life.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if you kind of have to have this balance of, because you were 10.
Yeah,
when you had this, like,
It's
career.
funny when I talk about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm 10 years old and I'm training 25 hours a week and I want to go to the Olympics. And you're like, what? Like, do you even know what the Olympics is, child? Like,
I know, exactly. So it's nice though to hear that you were able to have this high school experience.
Yeah.
And then you went to UCLA.
Yes.
Right? So I guess you were, 20 during the 2012 Olympics?
No, I was
Or
19.
19.
So I was a year too young for the 2008 Olympics. So I technically was a senior athlete. So I was competing against other seniors around that time. And but I just wasn't old enough. I was 15 and you had to be 16. So then my cycle, and I always knew I was reaching for 2012. So I took a year off after high school to train for the Olympics and knew like 2012 was my year.
Yeah, so
Which is weird though, because I feel like it kind of sucks that you have to wait a certain period to go.
Yeah.
But if you're ready, then you should be able to go, in my opinion. But other people will fight me on that, but it's okay.
So when you're like 15 and they say you're too young, and then you're like, okay, I want to go, do you immediately start training for the Olympics like 4 years in advance, or is it?
It's funny because you're always training for something. So I think the Olympics is always an end goal, but you're always training for, say, I want to be on national team, or I want to go to the World Championships, or I want to go to Commonwealth Games or something, or be Canada's #1 national gymnast, national level gymnast. So I think you're always training for the Olympics, but you're not always thinking Olympics.
Yeah.
It's very broken up into what's happening in that year. Because, I mean, you go through puberty, a lot of things can happen, you get injured, so it's always focusing on little steps before the Olympics. But I think during the Olympic years, when people start to really become strict with their diet, really strict with who they, not who they hang out with, but just their social life and time management and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say like 4 years before it, I was like, oh, I still want to go to the Olympics. It's kind of, you just have to go through life. Like, I took a year off after 2008 because I got injured and I had a really bad back injury. And so the doctor basically told me, he said, your spine is slipping. Oh my God. He was like, your spine is slipping, and basically if you try to do gymnastics, if it slips any further, you could become paralyzed waist down. So then that freaked me out, and I'm like, okay, we're stopping gymnastics, and I'm probably not going to come back and do it. So then during that year in high school, it was great because I could become a regular kid. I was hanging out with my friends. I actually had time after school to just hang out with them and focus on my studies and stuff. But it was funny because my friend went to UCLA after the Olympics. So when I was injured, she went to UCLA. And she told me how much fun she was having. And I said, okay, hold on. You were crying every single day in the gym, and you were having fun. And I was like, I got to check this out. So then I ended up going to UCLA to check out the campus. And Miss Val, who is the UCLA gymnastics coach, the head coach, she had come to my gym a bunch of times because she was recruiting from the elite gym that I came from. And I don't remember her at all, so I thought I was meeting her for the first time. So I went to UCLA, and then she was telling me how great it was, how amazing, and I really wanted to go into entertainment. So she's like, you could become an actress here, and you could do this. She's like making my dreams all come true, basically, in one visit. So I ended up telling her, I said, I don't know if I'm going to come back and do gymnastics because I don't know, maybe I'll take up tennis because it won't hurt my back or something. And she goes, okay, you're crazy.
Oh my God.
She basically said, like, we'd love for you to come and be a part of the program if you can get back to the college level. So not the elite level, but the college level. So the college level isn't as rigorous as elite training. So then that's when I kind of was like, oh, I think I could do like 4 or 5 skills out of my routines. Like, it would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
So she basically verbally said, we have a scholarship for you. And it shocked me because I was injured. So she basically took a chance on me to take that UCLA scholarship.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how funny it is because I wasn't even thinking about Olympics there. I'm kind of like, I'm injured. I don't even know if I can do the sport. And then now I get this opportunity for a scholarship. So then my mom was like, she calls me Christine, not Peng. So she's like, Christine, I think you should take it. Like, I don't think you're going to get another offer. So then I ended up verbally committing to UCLA when I was in grade 10. So, yeah, so that's when I committed to UCLA and knew I was always going there. And slowly I started training, but just for college. And then once I started training again, all my skills came back really quickly. So then I was like, oh my gosh, like, I think Olympics is actually possible. So then I told Miss Val and I said, I really want to go for 2012 because before it was out of my head, like, I'm not even at that level anymore. But when I started training again for college, I told her, I said, I think I can do it. So then that's when I started becoming really rigorous, training really hard again. And it's a whole whirlwind. Like, every athlete has their own story, and I bet you it's never a straight road. It's always some kind of curveball, or they took a couple steps back. Maybe they even quit, or just something.
Yeah.
But it's funny how just life works like that.
And when, like, you have an injury, because your back injury sounded pretty severe.
Yeah.
So when that happens, do you have, or have you seen other gymnasts, like, get a fear that that's going to happen again, where they're kind of, it's almost like PTSD, where they, like, don't want to get back on the bars or don't want to get back on something?
Yeah, so when I had my back injury, I was 14, I want to say, and it was during Christmas where I couldn't even pick things off the ground without pain. I was going to the bathroom, I was having pain, like, I was sneezing, and my back was, like, in excruciating pain. And I think because I was going through puberty, I was growing, but at the same time, when you're doing gymnastics, you don't want to be flipping and pounding when you're growing, because then your spine's kind of like, what are you doing? Like, I just want to, grow in a straight line. You're doing all these weird things. So my dad said, like, you need to do something. We need to see a doctor because this isn't right for a 14-year-old girl to have problems picking things off the ground.
Yeah.
So then it came to a point where when I came back to do gymnastics, I was terrified because I didn't want to feel the exact same pain that I had before. And so I would say a lot of athletes, it's hard to get over that hump just to get back into it. It's a whole mental game. Like, sometimes your body could be fine, but it is a big mental hurdle, and I think that's why I commend people going through injuries. And it sucks, but it's important almost, because then your mentality becomes stronger. You almost learn how to do positive thinking. Because if you don't go through injuries, it's kind of like a good sailor doesn't learn how to sail really well on, like, smooth, what is the quote? Smooth waters.
Like smooth sailor, no.
I don't remember the quote.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But a good sailor knows how to sail on rough waters or something like that. So it's kind of like, I think good athletes learn things from different experiences, because no athlete just has a perfect road.
Right.
Unless you are, then you're Superwoman. Like, oh, that would be amazing. You should write a book, whoever you are. But it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating that so many people have to go through this at such a young age. But I want to take a quick break, and then when we come back, talk about going to the Olympics, the whole experience, bonding with other women and competing,
for sure.
And then life after.
Oh, yes.
So we'll be right back.
A lot of people always ask me about how to get started on YouTube, or how to really teach yourself to learn video editing and Photoshop. And there are so many great tutorials, and demos on Skillshare. And this episode of Persister is brought to you by Skillshare. So Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with more than 25,000 classes in design, business, and more. You'll discover countless ways to fuel your curiosity, creativity, and career. You can take classes in social media marketing, mobile photography, creative writing, or even illustration. So this is a great place to get started on Photoshop or Premiere. Whether you're looking to discover a new passion, start a side hustle, or gain new professional skills, Skillshare is there to keep you learning, thriving, and reaching those New Year goals. So I think sometimes people are a little worried and scared to invest their time and money into video editing or really learning how to use social media as a marketing tool. And it really turns out that Skillshare is a great place to get started. And it's one of those things that you can use classes from whatever level you're at. And I strongly recommend it. So join the millions of students already learning on Skillshare today with a special offer just for my listeners, where you can get 2 months of Skillshare for free. That's right, Skillshare is offering Persister listeners 2 months of unlimited access to over 25,000 classes for free. To sign up, go to Skillshare.com/persister. Again, go to Skillshare.com/PERSISTER to start your 2 months now. That's Skillshare, SKILLSHARE.com/persister.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Persister. I am still here with Peng Peng Lee.
We are still here.
We have not gone anywhere. But yeah, I think I'm just fascinated by prepping for the Olympics in general, but also the competitiveness and friendships that you make with your team. So when you were competing to just qualify to go to the Olympics, when you have close friends on the team, is there really this competitive nature at the same time, or is it still pretty encouraging and a really good environment?
I think it depends what type of gym club you come from. So I was really fortunate because when I moved gym clubs after my back injury, the girls were super friendly. I mean, there's always an underlying competitiveness, I think, because you're always fighting for the same spot. But in general, we were always cheering for each other, even if we didn't want them to make it. We were still cheering for them in the gym and excited for them when they learned something new. But it really depends, because I've had friends who don't like their gym, or it's very individual. Like the coach just focuses on them. There's a lot of jealousy. There's a lot of favoritism, and it really just depends what gym club you go to. I think it in any sport too. It's not just gymnastics. It's one of the biggest things that I really liked about gymnastics was the traveling. So I loved meeting people outside Canada, and just meeting people from different backgrounds and different cultures was really, really cool. And that was one of my favorite things about gymnastics. But even at home, when you're competing for the same spot, it gets kind of tricky, because you want to congratulate one girl, but then another girl didn't make it, and you're part of the same gym club. And of course, it's a little awkward, but it at heart, you have to be happy for them. But I mean, it can get real, and just, I mean, girls can be catty too, and, the silent treatment is the girl's best friend. So I think in the gym, there's definitely some of those sometimes. And it happens in sport, or just anywhere, really. Yeah,
but it sounds like your parents have been very supportive.
Yes.
Which sometimes I think is hard to find. But it seems like, they've really been there and making sacrifices for you. And so when you what did it feel like when they said, "Hey, you're coming to the Olympics with us"?
Right. Oh my gosh. It was the most incredible experience, just because, so background story is I tore my ACL right at Olympic trials.
Oh my God, you go back to the ACL.
Oh yeah. I've been injured multiple times. My body has taken a beating. So after I took a year off after high school, I was training for the Olympics. I was Canada's top athlete. I had basically the top amount of points to go to the Olympics. So I basically was a shoo-in
Okay.
for the team. So come Olympic trials, I'm doing it all. My motto that year was no regrets. So I was doing everything. I had like a food list of what I wanted to eat after. I had like, it was like McDonald's chicken nuggets and like burgers and stuff like that. But at Olympic trials, I ended up doing a skill which I hadn't competed before. And I threw it on the last event of podium training, which is the day before the competition. And it ended up tearing my ACL. And I was praying my ACL wasn't torn. But when I flew back and got the MRI, they had told me, and I just bawled. I was kind of like, I went into a pity party. I was like, why me? Like,
Well,
I don't
so
understand.
much work.
Right, exactly. And you just sacrifice a lot. And I was so close. I think that's what it was. I was so close to my like dream and like things I'd sacrificed for to not get there and to say you are injured. Now you have to sit out for a year. I was really scared because I was supposed to go to UCLA after. So then I called Miss Val and I'm like, my scholarship, like what happens with my scholarship and everything. And so it was a lot of panic and it was a lot of fear.
Yeah.
And I think with my back injury, it was a slow injury. It wasn't suddenly. So when
You kind of could not prepare for it, but know that there were steps.
Exactly. And I knew the steps after the ACL, but I think the stakes were just a lot higher because
I would think
I was so close to going. But my mom she's like a superwoman. She's so great, and she gives me a bunch of perspectives, I would like to say. So when I tore my ACL and going through this pity party and like crying and bawling, she was like, well, you know, there's always another Olympics. This isn't the end-all, be-all. And so when she said that, it really clicked with me that she was right and I could go for 2016. So, and she was saying you have UCLA to look forward to. You have so many things to look forward to that I know it sucks that you couldn't go to UCLA, but she always gives me this new perspective of looking at things besides, oh my gosh, why did this happen to me? Like, I can't believe I tore my ACL, like someone's punishing me kind of thing.
Right.
So when I talked to the head coach of Team Canada, I think everyone was upset that I tore my ACL because they kind of knew my backstory and kind of a comeback almost. And so she called me and she said, we still want to bring you. I don't know how yet. Like, we would love for you to compete bars. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can go to the Olympics still and just compete one event. So I was literally thinking I could compete still. Then I went back into the gymnastics gym and I saw all the girls training. I have a giant cast from my thigh to my ankle. And I started doing conditioning. I said, this is not it. Like, I don't want to risk anything. If I land and my knee gives out, that's kind of it for my knee.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I have a whole life ahead of me. I'm only 19. And so I decided to take myself out of the runnings for the Olympics. And so she called me again. She said, we still want to bring you. So she was amazing. I think because I had a lot of traveling experience. She said, we want to bring you on as our team captain. Wow. And as soon as she said that, I said, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing ever, because she really wanted me to have that Olympic experience. And I was so thankful. And I learned a lot about, it's not just about your skill level. I really found out it's a lot about your character and what you bring to the table just beyond your talent. Because I think people can be talented. If they're a bitch, they're not going to want to work with them. So I really learned a lot about teamwork and just helping people through experiences. So that's why they wanted me to come with them. So I was allowed to get all the gear and kind of be the team's manager. I got them like salad if they needed to. In all honesty, it was really hard to watch them compete because I knew I could have been out there, but I was really thankful that they even brought me.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when you're there, do you have time to talk with athletes from other countries? Do you guys actually talk, or is it still very much like segregated based off of your team?
So since I was on the more delegate side, I stayed with like the alternates, and I stayed with the delegates of Team Canada. So I wasn't in the Olympic Village. I got a day to go visit the Olympic Village, which was really neat.
Yeah.
But I met so many people. I had a blast at the Olympics. Like, it was, honestly, I had a great time. Like, even though I wasn't able to compete, and I think that kind of one moment of the competition really hit hard to me, because it was just hard to watch, to be honest. But I had a great time meeting other Canadians kind of in the same boat as me who were really close but didn't quite make it. Or I met a lot of other competitors of Team Canada, and they were telling me their experiences. And so it was really fun you're always decked out in your country's gear. Like at the Olympics, you're like proud to wear your country stuff. Like I would never wear a Canadian flag out like on a regular day, kind of just walking around. That's just not my fashion.
Yeah.
But at Olympics, you're like, no, I need a Canada hat. Like I've got a Canada shirt on. Like I need to wear red and white all the time. So like everyone knows I'm from Canada. So everyone at Olympics in London was all wearing different countries. Like it was so cool. And so there was a Canada House there, so where all the Canadians met up. I don't know if every country was like that, but I've had Canada, I guess, Parliament building. I don't know what you call it.
Your Canada House?
Like a Canada House in London. So
maple leaf house.
Yeah, it was great. Like I would always meet up there. We'd watch the Olympics, and we'd kind of like go out after, and there was free food at the Canada House. So it was like everyone just met up there and like mingled, and then you'd go out, and then it was a lot of fun. Like I can't lie that I didn't have a great time because it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it seems like you can kind of get the best of the Olympics.
Yeah, I felt like I was on the parent side. You know, all the parents are at, I don't know, at their kids' games, and they're like having a beer, and just like having a grand old time. So I felt like I was kind of on that side.
So when your sport is done, I've always wondered, do people just like go home, or do you stay the whole time?
It depends. So when I was younger, when I went to Rio 2007, and that was Pan American Games, my family told the coaches and said, we want to take Peng and have a vacation. So the parents have to reach out to the national team coach just because they're dealing with the flights. So they have to know what you're doing afterwards. Most of the time, you would fly there and fly back. So it's kind of like, it's a business trip.
Yeah.
So I always say, like, I haven't really experienced all the countries that I've visited. And because I would go to, like, France or Japan, I didn't even get a croissant. I didn't have sushi. I had a lot of chicken salads, like, around the world. And I'm like, the best chicken salad is definitely the United States.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, I got to travel again. But the rare time when I did stay was Rio in 2007. But most of the time it's a business trip. So you really go there. Sometimes they'll have a banquet after so you can, like, meet other people and just enjoy the meet.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's like, go there, come home, maybe take a couple days off after the competition, then get back to training. So it's when I think about it now, when I'm telling you, I'm like, wow, it's really intense.
No, it is, but I think that you just get used to it. And I wanted to ask, because a lot of girls that are possibly like wanting to be gymnasts or wanting to go to the Olympics, I think that especially in the past year, there's kind of, especially with the U.S. teams, there's been this big shakeup with the whole Larry Nassar scandal, and that now there might be some sort of fear from aspiring gymnasts.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, like, when this all came out, how it felt being, kind of really close to that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really fortunate that has never happened to me.
Yeah.
I remember when the news came out, my mom immediately called me. She goes, please tell me, like, you have never had this experience. And I said, I've never had it. I was just as surprised and disgusted as other people. And I commend those girls who were so strong. And I mean, we know, like, there are some girls who have come out on our team. So it was a really close subject for UCLA. And Miss Val was great throughout it all. I mean, the girls, the survivors, and they're such strong women. And so for us, it was something you have to talk about. And so Miss Val made it clear that we have to talk about it. We have to address it. We can't just put a Band-Aid over it and pretend it never happened.
Yeah.
So that really helped us to just talk about it and what had happened. And it was so horrible and kind of disgusting that could even happen.
Yeah.
But all the girls the survivors who are so strong, they just started a huge movement. And it is so unfortunate that it had happened, but I think they had brought so much awareness to the sport, and not even just our sport, to other sports. And I think that's important, that it had brought awareness to other sports or businesses or even just the topic in general. It just maybe wasn't a big topic, but now it's more well known that people can talk about it. Little kids can maybe be aware that it's wrong. So it is unfortunate that it happened, but I know the survivors, a lot of them have been so positive and very inspiring, and I think that message that they're sending is so amazing. And I'm hopeful too that the sport not just gymnastics, but other sports will take that very seriously
Yeah.
to make a change that it can bring back the just passion of gymnastics and not all the other crap.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah.
So I think, if somebody who has gone through that, and they're kind of scared to speak up, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I honestly would say, I think that's the thing. I think now that has come out, I'm hoping that people are more open to speak up. Because I think the Canada and US are very different, and so I don't know much about the United States program, but what I've heard is that they had to be more silent and they had to not speak.
Right.
So if they were feeling some kind of type of way, they had to just be quiet. So I'm hoping that with this new change of this new changeover, that they will be more comfortable talking not only to the national team coach, but like their coaches and their parents. So I'm hoping that parents are like, my parents are my safety zone, so I'm hoping that they are able to find their safety zone to speak up to somebody.
And I guess just for girls in general that want to one day go to the Olympics or be the best, it sounds like that it's a very emotional journey. So I guess, like, what is your advice to someone who wants to get to that point?
I would say if you want something really bad, always enjoy every single step of the way. And what I mean by that is if you're discouraging yourself and kicking yourself that you're not there yet, you're thinking negatively and not positively. And so, like with injuries and stuff, okay, I'm going to take this break, focus on school. And I think you being more of a well-rounded person will get you there in the end because you're going to have all these different experiences that are unique to you and not to somebody else. And I think is what's going to separate you, say at Olympics or World Championships or even life in general, that people will take a liking to, or you'll inspire other people. So I always made it about the fun of gymnastics. Like, I would probably quit if I wasn't having fun. Like, if I was discouraged, my parents would probably pull me out. They'd say, you're not doing it anymore. So I think if you want to get to a certain level, always remember why you started it in the beginning. Because I think people lose focus of why they started it, and now they're just thinking about the finishing product, I guess. And when you think about, I remember being that little girl, like, loving this sport, then I think it's going to bring up a lot more emotions and your training is going to be more meaningful in the end.
Yeah, and I like that you're an example of being able to have a life but also have this passion.
Thank you. I take pride in that. I really take pride in, like, sometimes being able to go to high school and stuff.
Yeah, because sometimes you devote so much time to something that once it's over, it's like, oh my God, like,
well, people are lost after.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they're done gymnastics, they don't know
what
really
to do.
Anything. And I was happy that my parents were very picky about me and, like, you have to do tennis, you have to do golf, and, like, so I did.
You need to be well-rounded.
So they were like, you need to be well-rounded. One time I got like a 63% in my science class, and, like, whatever. that was one time. But I remember my dad just saying, he's like, is this because of gymnastics? I'm pulling you out. Your grades aren't up. So my parents were very good about, like, seeing the bigger picture and not just submerging me in gymnastics. And, like, I always did singing and guitar growing up, or kind of in the middle of gymnastics, because I needed something non-physical but to keep my interest too. So I think if I just did gymnastics, I would go insane. So that's why I had all these different, like, hobbies of singing and
outlets.
Yeah, there we go, outlets. Yeah.
Well, I'm so excited that you were able to come on the show.
Me too.
And speaking of life after gymnastics, you have your own YouTube channel now.
Yes.
So please check her out. What is the channel to look you up?
It is Peng Peng Lee.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
well.
It's very simple. It's very simple.
One of my friends is still, like, has a big channel, but she started it when she was young, so it's like Lollipop Girl 27.
Oh, that's so funny.
And she hasn't been able to change it. No. So, but yeah, thank you so much, and
thank you for having me.
I'm glad that I was able to get a gymnast athlete on here.
Yes.
And I'm so excited for your podcast.
I know.
And yeah, I guess we'll see you guys next time, or hear you talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.